If you are a parent of an athlete, I want you to hear this. You are already your kid's most powerful mental performance coach. It's not me. It's not their strength coach. It's not their varsity coach. It's you. The way you talk in the minivan, at the dinner table, and after games is literally wiring your athlete's brain for either confidence or anxiety. That is a lot of pressure, and it's kind of daunting. And that's why I created my free email course called the Resilient Parents Playbook. In it, I walk you through the 5 most common mistakes we make as sports parents, and I give you simple, practical tools to fix them. You'll learn how to praise effort and attitude instead of just results, how to handle the car ride home, and how to help your kid manage nerves and pressure in a healthy way. It's completely free. Just hit the link in the show notes and grab the Resilient Parents Playbook and start becoming the kind of mental coach your athlete actually needs at home.
This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Toman. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission, help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. A paragon is a model of excellence, a standard by which others are measured, which makes it a perfect word for Olympians who embody dedication, resilience, and the very peak of physical and mental performance. With that in mind, we want to highlight our partners at the American Paragons Foundation. They're a nonprofit supporting Team USA athletes in underfunded women's and adaptive sports by helping them with career opportunities, media exposure, and real-world support beyond competition. Here at the Mental Mettle Podcast, we are proud to be collaborating with them and help amplify the stories and missions of athletes who deserve more visibility. Check out AmericanParagons.org to learn more. There are a ton of ways you can get involved that don't cost a dime. All right, it's Coach Toman here for the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm here with my guest today, Olympian Joe Brown. Joe, Joe the Thrower, as your Instagram says, which I got to tell you before we get going here, when I get hooked up with somebody, I always go and check their Instagram, change stuff. And we're going to get into how the things that you post on your Instagram, because you do a lot of, you called it the Olympic decisions, and you have this or this. And it is, I'm telling you, I kind of geeked out about it because it's some really good stuff as far as positive psychology stuff goes. So we're definitely going to get into that. So just letting you know, I'm enjoying your Instagram follow. It's really good. And I'll definitely have it in the show notes. But first off, thanks for joining me on the show, Joe.
Of course. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. So let's get into a little bit of your background. So let's go the most recent accolade. And that was, you threw in you've done stuff since, but you threw in the Paris Olympics, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I threw in the Paris Olympics in 2024, and yeah, that was the craziest experience. Getting there was just an insane experience. I don't know if you know the story of how that happened.
That's what I want to talk about. Now, I heard some pieces, but that's kind of what I want to start with, is that struggle and that journey for you to get there.
Okay, so I'll start at the Olympic trials. So with track and field, we have to get top 3 at the Olympic trials, and as long as you have the Olympic standard, or if you're within the rankings quota of the top 32 world rankings, then you can go. And I had the standard, so I was okay.
Okay.
And so
Just okay by Olympic standards. It's like when you mean Olympic standard, it means you're not going to go in there and embarrass, like you're going to look like you belong, correct?
so like it's a distance that you had to have thrown in the season
Right.
prior to getting to this competition. So like it was 67 25 or it was 67 something meters, and which is pretty high for an Olympic standard. So like if you throw that at an Olympics, you'll probably get a medal, which is like a crazy distance to have as like the minimum standard.
Right.
But so I threw that distance, I want to say the competition right before the trials. And I was having a great season, so like up to that point. And then so going into the trials, I was ranked number 3, I think. And so I was pretty confident that I was going to make the team, and I had never done that well at a major USA championships, like coming into this. The first time I went, I got dead last. The second time I went,
Out of how many?
I think it was 24.
So I mean, it's a substantial number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the first time I went, I got 24th. The second time I went, I think it was only 18 of us this time. So I think I got 17th out of 18. So I got second to last. And then the third time I went, I got 4th place. And so I had a pretty big jump. And I almost made that team, which was going to the World Championships. And so coming into this year, I was like, okay, I need to just do better than I did last year, place like one place higher, and I just need to just do well. But I was confident I could do it. And so going into the competition, it's a 2-day competition for the trials. So we have a prelim day and then a final day. And so you have to make it through the prelim day to get into the finals. I think we had to be top 12 in the prelim day. And then on the final day, you had to be in the top 9 after 3 throws to make it into the last 3 throws.
Just keeps weeding them out, right?
Yeah, it keeps weeding people out.
Yeah.
So I made it through the prelims with no problems really. And then on the final day, it was not a good day. I was struggling. Started off pretty rocky. I started off with like a decent throw, and I think it put me in 9th place or 8th place. I don't know, but I finished round 3 in 9th place. So like I barely
just made the cut.
Yeah, I just squeezed in. And I think I don't remember if I had like a foul or I threw it into the pole. I know I threw it into the pole on the 5th throw. So it was getting rough. And like all the guys who were throwing after me, like they could have thrown farther than me. So like I knew I could have gotten kicked out of the finals at any point. And so I made it through to like the final 8 or the final 9. And it was just like by the skin of my teeth. And then my first throw in the finals of the final, it was not a good throw. It was like 48 meters or something, which is way shorter than anything that I needed. And then the 5th round, I threw it into the pole. And so I only had 1 throw left to make the team.
Right.
And I was throwing, so they reversed the order. So I was throwing first in the order. And then
so you throw it into the pole, and then you immediately have to like take a break, and then you're the next guy to throw again.
No, so they reversed it when we got into the last 3 throws.
Okay.
So I was actually like, I'm pretty sure I was the last one in the first 3 throws, and then I was the first one in the last 3 throws. So I did have to go back to back.
Yeah.
But then fifth round, I throw it into the pole, wait for the rest of the guys to throw, and then it comes back to me, and it's my turn. But then I still have to wait. After I throw, I have to wait for
Gotcha.
everybody else to throw to see like where I end up.
Yeah.
So on my final throw, I just go in the ring and I'm like it's now or never. And I had told my buddy that if I didn't make the team, I was gonna be done. I was gonna be quit track because like this would be the fourth championships that like I didn't make the team, and I was just like it's getting to be too much. And I'm just like I'm done. And so like I was like this is potentially my last throw of my life.
Yeah.
And so I just like threw it as hard as I could. I just said, forget technique. I'm just going to throw it as hard as I possibly can and hope for the best. And it ended up going pretty far. It went like 65, like a high 65, and it put me in third place. But then I still had to wait for everybody else, the other 8 guys, to throw to see where I ended up. And so that was just like the most nerve-wracking time of the entire competition.
Oh.
Like just waiting. Like I couldn't do anything about it at that point.
But
And then
they're looking at this guy that throws 48, then hits the pole, and then pulls out a 65, right? Like that's
yeah.
like, I mean,
And that's been a pretty like consistent story of my career, pretty much. Like I'm pretty known for like you can't really count me out if I throw 35 meters or if I throw it into the pole. Like I'm known to be able to just turn it around and throw something far.
well, that's the thing about the sport. It's for all those throws, the only one that matters is the farthest one.
Yeah.
You can hit the pole with everything and throw a 67, and then you're it's
And so it's a little bit. It's a little tricky once we get into like the higher level meets because it's like you have to perform at a very high level within 3 throws so you can even make it and get a chance to have more throws. And so like luckily like my minimum level was good enough that day to make it in to get another 3 throws. But yeah, that was just like, and then like everybody went after me, and then I ended up like I kept my spot, and I was only in third place. I was only beating the guy in fourth by like 2 inches, I think, which was like like a tiny little margin,
right.
And yeah,
but that's the thing. He still has to throw better than what he did before.
yeah, and so like nobody ended up getting any better than me, and then I made the team, and yeah, after that it was just like it was insane. It was my first like real global championships. I had been to the Pan Am Games, which is all of the Americas. I had been to that the year prior, and that's kind of like a mini Olympics, if you think about it, because like it has all the sports, and it's a games just like the Olympics, and they put us in like a athlete village the same way, but it's like on a way smaller scale.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like it kind of prepared me for what I was going to be going into with the Olympics. But yeah, that was the story of how I made the team, and it was kind of like a similar story of like I won the D2 national championships in 2019. Like it was
well that was going to be one of my
story.
questions. There is because you get out of college and then you're trying to make some teams and doing, like you said, you're going dead last and then second to last, and then but you on some level it was, I mean, you were one of the only Division II throwers probably even trying. So it's I don't know how to phrase that other than like it was almost somewhat expected for you to be at the right, like because you were at D2 and mostly against some D1, even though you were a national championship. But I don't know how much the difference is. But what's that? Knowing that you were a very celebrated Division II champion, but then knowing that everybody else was D1, does that change your mindset going into this stuff, good or bad?
I mean, not really, because like I've been out of college for so long. I don't even really I don't think about where I came from really that anymore. When I first came out, it was like a big deal in my head. Like we there were like three of us. I'm pretty sure there were three discus throwers who came out of D2. Um, that I can remember off the top of my head right now, and I'm pretty close with both of the other guys, and so it's always been top of my mind. Like, yeah, we need to represent
Sure.
for our division, but like I always felt like I was good, like better than what people thought that
Well,
D2
there's
was.
certainly, if it's like any other sport, there's a lot of overlap between the top of D2 and the bottom of D1. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's I get you. I understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like especially like when we were in college. Me and my buddy, we were always just looking at every D1 conference and just like seeing where we lined up with everybody, and like seeing how many like D1 people we beat. So it was always like a mental game.
Absolutely.
With us. But yeah, now that I've been out of college for a long time, it's more so like a reminder of like where I came from.
Sure.
And kind of like that's kind of why I wore the jersey that I wore, and it was a Pokemon themed one, and it said like, "Who's that thrower?"
Yeah.
And so because it was just kind of like nobody knew who I was, and nobody really cared, and so that was like the perfect like theme of just my career. It's just like, who is this guy?
There's a moment in there I want to go back to. You're throwing your last throw, or potentially your last throw, that is like, if I do it, I'm gonna go to Paris, and if not, I'm done with the sport. And you said in there, I'm gonna forget technique and go throw.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be, Joe, something, a lesson in that somewhere that you've taken with you. I would imagine. I don't think you would have continued to do it if you hadn't taken a lesson from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I kind of took from that is like in my head, like especially like when I'm training, there's a difference between like trying to achieve something technical and just like flowing through like a practice. And like a lot of times when I'm like fighting something and I'm trying to do something really technical, like I'm not really thinking about throwing it hard. I'm just trying to do the thing right. And then after I do it right, then I'm like, okay, now I can build up some power into it. But in competitions, like it's usually we're going to go as hard as we can and see what sticks. But yeah, I kind of took the lesson of like, if I'm trying to throw it hard, there's a difference between like me, like trying to like give it full effort and then me like trying to throw it hard, because like there's certain technical keys that I have to hit in order for me to even be able to throw it hard. Like it's not possible for me to throw it hard without doing technical things right. And so that's kind of like I kind of switched it to like, okay, I have to do all of this stuff right in order for me to even feel like I am able to throw it hard. And if I just think about, okay, we're going to throw it hard this time, then I guess sets everything up in order for me to do that. And I think that's kind of like what happened.
Well, at some point your training has to take over, that you're like, I've done this so many times. I can't, like, this little technical piece, surely I'm going to do that correctly.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope so.
Well, so give me okay.
Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport, and they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Mettle Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set.
Okay. So talk to me about, let's talk about that. When you're talking about putting this technique and this time and this practice that breeds confidence or creates a situation where, like, if you tell me, just take this discus and go throw it as hard as you can, it's going to be a debacle. But you, who's put so much technique into it and you shut your brain off and just go throw it, you can't turn that off, that technique, because you've worked on it so long. And that's kind of like, where's the mindset that what's the sweet spot mindset for you? Have you figured that out? Like technique versus just grip it and rip it.
I mean, in competition, like I never really want to think about technique at all. And like I'll keep it to like 2 technical cues at the most, which is like I'll keep it to 2 simple directions of like what I want to do, and it'll usually be like 1 word each and something like positive. It can't have any negative words in it, but yeah, that's really it. Like if I'm like I was saying, like if I think about technique at all, it kind of turns off my brain of like the competition mode, and it takes me out of the okay, we're going for it. And like it's not necessarily like not. Sometimes I just it goes completely wrong, and I just throw it crazy. But like most of the time, it's not like it doesn't go all the way crazy, and I don't just completely throw it absolutely different than a technical throw. It's just your body kind of like defaults to your habits,
Right.
your old habits, and like unless you have retrained the better habits and ingrained those to where like those are the ones that come out when you start to just go for it, then usually it's like what you don't want to happen is what comes out. And it's more so just about like how much you can mitigate that from happening while you're adding as much power as you can.
Right. So yeah. So there's something you said in there that I absolutely love when you're talking about, it's just a couple, like you focus on a couple words and it's not something negative. And that might sound simple, but I work with a lot of athletes that when we work on something and I tell them, okay, we need to simplify things and we need to create like a couple focus words. And here's what we want to focus on. And I tell them to write down a couple words, and they'll invariably I'll get a client or two or a kid I work with once in a while that will say, don't do this. Like I don't. And I'm like, do you understand how damaging that is to put a negative, something that you don't want to do, into your thought process? Because you can probably speak to this, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. As soon as you say like, oh yeah, don't like stay away from the left. Don't go to the left. That's exactly where you're gonna go. And like I've been doing this so long, and like I've helped coach people for a long time too in the sport, and like I've coached young people and then college kids. I've coached like all spectrums, and that's literally the biggest thing that people have the issue with is like unless I've trained them for a while and I've like ingrained this in their head, that's what they default to is like, okay, I don't want to do this. No, this. Don't go this way. And this, I don't know. I don't understand why that's just everyone's default.
It is. It's the human nature default to worry about what we're going to do wrong, and then we build that into our mind, and you just can't do it. It's yeah. So talk to me about when you're talking about coaching others. Kind of brings up something you mentioned, that you've done most of your training like like by yourself without a coach. How does that come about? Is that by design, or do you prefer it that way, or?
It was not by design. When I first started, like, okay, so when I first got into like post collegiate throwing, or I guess professional throwing, I don't really consider it professional throwing because I don't get paid to do it.
It's a big misunderstanding that's what Shane of the American Paragons, and it's a good point to bring that up. It's a misconception about
people going to the Olympics to think that, oh, this is a big, because it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you say that, because people will say something like, oh, it's pro athletes. And I'm like, yeah, but they don't like, you should get paid something if you're going to be pro at it. And it's the opposite. Like, you have to fund
We
yourself.
pay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like, it's an expensive hobby. But yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy sport to do. But yeah, when I first got into, like, out of college and chose to continue doing this, I made the decision with the intention of continuing to train with my college coach, and I was going to be a GA at the school, and just, it was pretty much, I felt like I was just going to keep doing what I was already doing, and because I was going to, like, keep my scholarship, because I was going to be a grad assistant, and just keep on practicing with the team and use the weight room and all that stuff and have the same coach. And then I had already made this decision and made all these plans and applied for grad school, had my position and all that. And then my coach texted me and he was like, "Hey, just wanted to let you know I'm retiring from coaching." And I was like, "All right, I'll figure it out. Don't worry." And so it was like, we had a few conversations, and he kind of was like, "All right, well, you have these options. You can reach out to these coaches. You can see if you can go here or go here. You can reach out to the coach at the Olympic Training Center and see if they'll bring you there, or you could just stay here and work with whoever they bring in." And so I was like, "Well, I'm already kind of committed to being here, because I have my GA position. I'm already, like, in grad school, and so, like, I'm not going to leave now." And so it was kind of, I was just like, "All right, well, we're going to figure it out." And then so I worked with the coach that they hired, but it was more so just like we worked together, and he was really cool. His name is Pat Tracy, and it was kind of just like, we experimented a lot, and he was writing out the program for me to follow in the throwing practices, and then the weight room coach at the school was writing out my weight room stuff, and there was just, like, a lot of experimentation that we did, and this was 2019 going into 2020, and so that is when the lockdown happened.
Yep.
And, like, I felt like it was going pretty well, and I was making progress. And then that happened.
A lot of people felt that way at the beginning of 2020, right? It's like, I was making good progress, and then
and then so we were actually at the indoor national championships when they shut everything down, and, like, they canceled the championships and we sent us all home, and then. Yeah, and then I got locked out of the throwing rings here. I couldn't go practice, and then they closed down the school and the weight room, so I couldn't lift. I was doing, like, I tried doing what I could at home, but it was just like, it was just getting to a point where, like, I wasn't feeling like I was doing anything, so I was like, I'm just not gonna do anything.
It's so you are a success story because you came out of it. A lot of people didn't. Like, a lot of people did the opposite, and it's a travesty for a lot of athletes, for a lot of situations.
Yeah, and so I went to, me and my wife, we went to my parents' house just to go visit them for, like, a day, and then we ended up staying there for, like, 2 months.
It was such a weird time, man.
Yeah, and so, like, I didn't do any training. I was just working. And then so we came back, and then I was still sort of working with the throws coach here, and so he was still writing my programs and stuff, and I was, like, we were bouncing ideas off of each other. But the weight room coach stopped writing my weight room stuff, so I had to learn how to figure out. I had to figure out how to do all that, and just, I kind of learned as much as I could and took what I could from what I had previously done, and then learned some new stuff. So I figured that part out, just did a lot of experimenting. and then the throws coach left, and then they brought in a new throws coach, and that throws coach, I was just like, all right, we're like, now I'm just gonna do what I'm like, whatever I
Well,
want.
at some point, by this time, you're a Division II national champion. You've been throwing a couple years after college, and you are wanting to compete at the pro level. At some point, no offense to whatever throws coach, you've been doing it as long as a lot of the coaches that would come into so there's got to be a point where you're like, I kind of know more than whoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that was like, I think it was good to have someone to talk to about ideas.
Absolutely.
And so that was kind of more of what I used it as, like, just someone I could just share ideas with and communicate and just brainstorm with. And then so from then on, it was pretty much like, it was just me creating the whole process, and just figuring it out. And that was 2020, I think, or 2020 going into 21. And then that 21 was the first USA championships I had made, and that was the trials, because they postponed the 2020 Olympics to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made that trials on the very last throw of the season. Like, I qualified for the trials on the last throw, and I threw a PR at the very last competition on the last throw, and it qualified me. And so at that trials, I was like, well, I've got to like do a Hail Mary and pray to God that I do something to make the team. Like, I wouldn't say it was impossible, but like, I had to PR and throw really far to make the team. Like, it wasn't that far relatively, but it was far for me at the time. It was farther than I had ever thrown.
Yeah.
But like, I knew I could probably do it. But it was asking a lot of myself. And so, like, looking back, like, I mean, probably shouldn't have gotten last, but like, I shouldn't have been expecting to make the team. But that one kind of opened my eyes to, like, it's doable. Like, I wasn't that far off. Like, my best wasn't that far off. Yeah, but I was still on my own that year. And then I was on my own up until after the Olympics. Around October after the Olympics, I started working with my new coach.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you put a few years by yourself doing this, and you made the Olympics with it. There has to be something that somehow, and I'm not knocking having a coach, because as you said, there's a lot of reasons for that, but it clearly helped you do something better.
Yeah.
Working on your own and working in that solitude.
Yeah. And I just recently made a post about this. It was like, training like by yourself, and even now I still train by myself. We work virtually together, so like, I send her videos, and then I get feedback, but it's not in real time. But I did just go do a training camp with them for the whole beginning of this year, and that was cool. But for the most part, I'm on my own still. But yeah, training on your own is just like, it's different in like a couple aspects. Like, being the one who creates the process it's a lot harder to buy into what you're doing and like trust, like, oh yeah, this is the right path. Like, I know what we're doing. Like, it's a lot easier if you know, like, if you have a credible coach. It's like, oh yeah, like, I know they know what they're doing. So you
borrow their confidence.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful.
Yeah. But when you're the one creating it, and you haven't seen success, you haven't practiced it and seen success with it, like, you're like, okay, this could work. I mean, it seems like it could work, but I don't know if it actually will work. And it's hard. Like, you need that to have that buy-in to it, to do it with 100% like effort and keep on doing it and trust that what you're doing is right. And it's hard in that aspect. And then it's also tough, like, just being out there by yourself and having to show up by yourself. And get started moving by yourself. Like, it's so much easier when I'm going with a group and like, okay, I see everybody moving and like they're already throwing, so I gotta start moving faster and I gotta warm up fast, do everything right, get in the ring and go. But like when I'm there by myself, it's like, I could go fast right now, but I have all this time, so I might as well take it. But yeah, it's kind of like it helps you in a sense of like it makes you less dependent on others, and less dependent on like those external factors and feedback loops and stuff like that.
No, I think that's a very beneficial thing. Clearly, it's helped you, but it's probably nice to have a coach again.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's like a I struggle with it in my head a lot, like because it's like on one hand, I saw a lot of success doing everything on my own, and it did build me into the person I am today, where like if I see someone just making excuses and like not wanting to do something because like they're tired or like they got to go do something by themselves, I'm like, all right, you're just like you don't really want to do whatever you're trying to do. You're just talking about it.
right.
But like at the same time, it's like it is a lot easier. It's a lot easier being with a training partner and like being, especially like since I just got back from training with my coach and her husband. It's like when I come back from that environment and I'm back to lifting in the weight room by myself and no spotter and having to just keep my own pace. It's just like this is a lot more like mentally taxing.
It is. Yeah, but it's also at the end of the day, it's also helpful if you can get through it. So,
yeah.
And that kind of gives me, I want to lead into, I always like talking about mental toughness and some of the mental part of it. And we have been a little bit, but I want to go back to talking about your Instagram page and your Olympic decisions, because they really speak to me in the sense that like, well, here's some examples you have, and maybe we'll talk about some, like you have a page and it says, or a post and it says confidence or curiosity. And another one says visibility or solitude, or one says preparation or adaptability. And another one that you were just talking about, belonging or independence. And I love the way that you phrase this, because you're making it really clear that a lot of times mentality isn't our mindset. And a lot of people don't even ask the question. And you're asking the question, okay, in today's training, do I need confidence or do I need curiosity? Because sometimes you need confidence and sometimes you need curiosity.
Yeah.
And I just love your posts here. I'm kind of curious, where did you come up with this idea to do this, and why do you keep doing it? Because I'm telling you, you should keep doing it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I originally started doing it because I was doing like a 30-day posting challenge, and I was trying to figure out what I could do for 30 days straight where like I didn't have to, because I feel like I could sit down and record like a video face to face and like talk to the camera 30 days, but that would take a lot more effort. And so I was trying to figure out like how could I do something where I don't have to actually record something every day. And so I thought about it, and then I was like, okay, if I do something where I do these decisions every day, like what a decision that I most likely have made recently, or like a decision that I've made during my journey, and just like talk about something. And so that's kind of where it came from. And yeah, the ideas from it are just like they're a lot of them are not, there's not like a right answer. It's not really like an either or, but you do have to choose. And sometimes there is a wrong decision at the moment. And that's kind of like, I kind of like to think about it like I want to leave it up to the person to decide, like, do I need to do this? Do I need this aspect today? in training, or do I need this other aspect? Or like, I think one of the early ones was like about nutrition, like eat or drink the fun foods, or like fuel my body for training the next day. Like sometimes you just need to let loose and have the crappy food and just go get drunk. I mean, I'm not advocating for that, but like some people need that to let off some steam, or they're gonna just lose it. And so like I think there's in some of those decisions there's a lesson underneath it, but most of the times it's like it comes down to the context of the situation and like what the actual situation calls for.
But I think that what I love about it is there is power and importance in asking the question.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, a lot of people, and these are like, I feel like that's one of the things that helped me get a lot better. Just all throughout my career, but especially in college, is like I did start asking these questions, and I started taking the mental aspect of things more serious, because like I was in a bad place for a lot of my college career, like mentally, and I mean like physically too, and that was able, like, that helped pull me out of it, and like really locking in on taking this career seriously, like that helped pull me out of some bad situations that I was heading into.
So what's could you be more specific to that? Like what were you struggling with, and what was the turning point? And is there a time that you're like, I needed to do this and this got me moving forward mentally?
Yeah, I mean, like I did a lot of things I probably shouldn't have done when I was in high school and going into college. And
yeah, that's that's not shocking news about anybody really, right?
Yeah,
so yeah,
and I kind of carried some of those habits into college, and I didn't really take much of anything serious. But like I saw a lot of potential in myself, athletically. But like we would train really hard, have a really good week, and then like I would go and get blackout drunk for like 3 days straight. And so like it got to a point, and I took it to the extreme when I was drinking. Like it was more of like a competitive thing for me. Like I was like, if I'm gonna drink,
if I'm gonna do it, let's do it. Right?
Yeah, we're gonna do it. Like I'm not gonna get buzzed. I'm gonna go all the way, until I can't go anymore. And so it was like all or nothing with me. And like I didn't, if we were just gonna have like a beer or two, I wasn't gonna, like, I'm not gonna go and do that. But
don't waste my time with a beer. Yeah.
And so like that was an extreme mentality, but that was what I had. And like it was like almost every weekend, and most of the like a lot of times it was like 3 days, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where it was like this aggressive bender, and I would just lose all of the training.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. There's no progress there. Yeah.
So I was just like on this loop of just starting over every week, and then like it just got to a point where like I was just drinking just for no reason. Like I would have a beer just sitting there doing nothing, and like we weren't even, like, everybody wasn't drinking. I would just start drinking by myself, and so I saw myself heading down a bad path, and like I know myself, and like I get to a point where like I get very invested in something, and like there's no turning back. And so like I knew if I kept going down this path, then I most likely would end up somewhere I don't want to be.
Nowhere intentional. Welcome to Mental Mettle Coaching, where our mission is to help you learn to thrive in the face of adversity, not just survive it. We are passionate about empowering you to live, play, and work with a resilient and spirited mindset. Hi, I'm Matt Tillman. I'm an ICF professional coach and keynote speaker. My background as an athlete, basketball coach, teacher, and school administrator has equipped me with the insights that resonate deeply with the schools, teams, athletes, and coaches I work with. However, it's my personal journey through anxiety, cancer, and an ischemic stroke in 2020 that truly brings authenticity to my presentations. While learning to speak and write again, I also pursued and earned my ICF coaching certification. Now the practices I embrace are more than theoretical concepts. They're a way of life. Developing a positive mindset is within reach for all, but it requires self-awareness and the repetition of intentional activities. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we'll guide you, your staff, and your students on this transformative journey. Together, let's forge your mettle.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where I was like I had been drinking for so long and I'd been drinking so much. It was just like the stages of drinking, I would skip any type of fun part. I would skip like buzzed, I would skip drunk, and I would just be like go from nothing to like blacked out and then throwing up and then wake up the next day hungover and just like in severe pain. And so I think it was like after maybe like 4 or 5 times in a row of that happening where there was no fun part and it was just straight pain, where I was like, okay, this is pointless now. Like I'm not enjoying this, and I'm in pain every time I do this. So like I don't want to do it anymore. And like I'm not making any progress really. And so even this was still happening even after I had started taking everything more serious, like the mental journeys more serious and the sport more serious. But I was still like in this aggressive loop of drinking and not making progress. But I want to say like my junior year is when I kind of made a switch in how I was thinking about like training and taking stuff more serious. And I read The Mind Gym.
Yeah.
And then I read The Art of Mental Training by DC Gonzalez. And I kind of kept going back to those 2 books, and that kind of started me on the journey of like meditation and mindfulness and all types of different mental training aspects and like visualization and all that. And so that year I went to nationals and I saw all the other guys around me, and I was like, oh, they're just regular goofballs just like me. Like there's nothing that distinguishes them from me, and like I'm just as strong as them, and I'm also probably doing more things that are hurting myself than they are. And so the next year I was like, okay, well let's figure this out, and I could probably win if I take it more serious. And then I want to say not that year, but I think my last year of competition. So I redshirted my senior year, and then I had a 5th year. And so going into that 5th year, like that was when I kind of stopped drinking and started like working on like rehab of like my body and getting more flexible, and I took the mental part way more serious. I started meditating every morning, visualizing like myself winning the national championship and all that stuff. I read a bunch of books, and yeah,
It's a huge credit to you to be in that loop of like kind of destroying yourself, but then being open to reading those books, trying meditation, trying some visualization, because there's a lot of there's a lot of people I know that aren't destroying themselves like you were, that still won't try some of that stuff. They're like, it's kind of, and or maybe the way you were treating yourself was part of the reason you're like, I need to do this. I don't know, but it's a huge credit to you to start doing those things, because they make an enormous difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And like I also like I had a lot of bouts with like depression or just general sadness in my whole, I wouldn't say my whole life, but like one of my good friends died my freshman year of college. He killed himself, and that was like a very tough thing for me to deal with.
Absolutely.
And so it was like I had a lot of like negativity just swirling around in my head at a lot of moments in my life, and that kind of contributed to like the way I was just destroying my body, and then like I would be in these loops where like I would destroy my body, and then like I wouldn't perform well, and I would be more sad, and then I would destroy my body more because of that, and then
You keep talking about these loops. I talk about that all the time. How the like it compiles, but like either progress or deterioration. Just like they compile
yeah,
themselves, and that's why you have to have such a good foundation of mental tools to help
yeah,
you make sure you're moving one direction. Because if you don't have it, it'll spin out of control.
yeah, and I think that is something that has helped a lot with everything is just like having more tools, and just like knowing the right tool for the right situation, and like
You mentioned that. What do you like? I love that when you say that. Like it's like when they talk about having these mental tools and having your own toolkit, it's like take that metaphor and go a little bit further and being like and knowing, oh, I've got a leaky faucet, I need this, or
yeah,
I got a hole in the wall. Here's how like understanding. Okay, I have this mental issue. I have this tool I can use, and that's a
mm,
powerful notion to be able to do that.
yeah, yeah, and like going back to like just training by myself, like that also, like being able to get through like some of the grueling workouts did to myself is just like you have to like sometimes the strategies don't work and you have to figure out another strategy.
Yeah.
And so like when you're in the middle of it, you're like, okay, this one's not working, we got to figure something out like right now or I'm gonna quit. And so yeah, just going through a lot of experiences and then just trying different strategies out is very helpful.
Yeah, but once you've gained a couple tools, like you said, you have confidence in your ability to figure it out. And so
Yeah,
it's okay, what I was using is not working. I got to try something else. And there is a threshold that you kind of get a pass and you're like, oh, I've helped myself out of situations like this. What can I do? How can I do this? I got to try something different, but I know that it's going to happen.
yeah,
And that's yeah. But
yeah,
you got to read the books. You got to put the
mhm,
practice in. You got to believe in it.
yeah. And I think reading books was one of the biggest things that helped because like I started off with those two books and then I listened to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins and
That's a whole nother level, man. No,
yeah,
yeah.
and then like Do Hard Things.
That's a great Steve Magnus. It's great. And
Yeah,
he's a great follow on Instagram as well. He's got good stuff. So,
yeah. I
and I
think that
see,
one
yeah.
that one was a really good one. I really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
Um, yeah. The Confident Mind if you haven't read that one, I
Mhm.
highly recommend The Confident Mind. If you like the others, you'll love that one. That's a good one. So,
Okay.
man, Joe, this has been a great conversation. I just looked at the time; we are rolling here, so I got to kind of let's finish up with the last question I always ask everybody is what's the question I didn't ask you that I should have? What's the thing that we need to? What's the one thing we need to address that we haven't?
Hmm. I was gonna say like, what's the biggest misconception that people have about mental toughness in general? But I
Ooh,
think we kind of talked about that a little bit.
I don't know, kind of, but what is the from your perspective? What is the misconception people have about mental toughness?
I think people just think that it's something that you either have or you don't have, and
That
like
drives me nuts.
yeah, and like people don't realize that like you need to train it just like anything else, and like you start out just like a baby, like you don't have those tools in your toolkit, and the more tools you give yourself, the better you'll be able to, like the more prepared you'll be to do that stuff. But you also like you have to do that stuff. Like you have to go through the hard stuff in order to train for it and build up the mental toughness. And it's not like I think a lot of the coaches I see like complaining about kids that don't have mental toughness, like they throw them into the fire without giving them any tools to fight the fire. And
You're preaching. You preach it, man. I'll get you a soapbox and I'll sit there beside you because it makes me so angry.
yeah. And like I see it happen all the time, and it's just like you haven't prepared them. You didn't give them like a flame retardant suit. You didn't give them a water hose. You didn't give them anything, and you're just expecting them to go into this fire just in a short sleeve shirt and shorts on and fight it with their bare hands and not get burned.
And not only that, I'm going to add some more adversity by just yelling at you.
Yeah. And then they get mad and they're like, okay, these kids are just soft. And it's like, well, they don't really have a choice. Like, you didn't prepare them. Their parents didn't prepare them. Nobody prepared them. And yeah, it's just like, I feel like that's just a big just misconception that people have is like, oh yeah, I did some hard things in my day. So like these kids should already have that. Or like everybody, you either have it or you don't. And I don't agree with that.
Well, it's clear it's not true at all. It's the same as like we get in the weight room to get stronger. It's the same idea. If you want to be more mentally tough, you got to put yourself to some drills and through some tools, and you got to do it. And
Yeah.
But it's definitely doable. It's like you are living proof of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you're so much better at it now because you put the time and effort into it.
Yeah. And I think like I owe a lot of it to like my childhood, I think, because I worked with my dad in construction for like
Look,
he owns a
I grew
construction
up working construction with my dad and my uncle.
company.
And that you talk about going through the fire.
Yeah.
That'll
You
do it for you.
you kind of get thrown into it, and you either figure it out or you break something. It's just like, well, sorry, Dad. But yeah, I kind of like figured out early, like the more I work on something, and like the harder I work at something, like the better I get, and I see results, and I learned like a work ethic through that, and then I played football in high school, and that was like I saw a lot of kids who were just they weren't prepared for it, and they didn't want to work hard, and they didn't want to feel the pain, and I was like, I felt like I was different than them because I was like, this is not that hard, and like I go through long days like 5 a.m. to midnight working with my dad. Those are hard days. Like we're lifting heavy stuff and banging hammers all day long. It's just like it beats your body up. And like I feel like I went through a lot of pain early, and then I was better prepared for like football pain, and then I loved football, and it was just like people didn't want to feel the pain, and I was like, listen, I'm all for this because I feel like the more pain I can go through and like voluntarily put myself through, like the better it'll make me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's like when we're talking about all that with the mental toughness and developing the mental toughness to when you're talking about people get the misconception about it, there's a lot of similarities between that and like I said, getting in the gym. But it's also the same idea that like nobody goes to the gym one time and says, "Oh, I'm good."
Yeah.
No, you have to keep coming back, and mental toughness is the same way. You have to keep practicing it. You got to keep putting yourself in the tough situation and convincing yourself you can get out of it. And that's how you get strong. It's over time. It's not, oh, I read one book and I'm good.
Yeah.
No, you gotta start applying it and working on it. So
Yeah.
man, I love that. You're preaching my language, and like I said, I see that in your Instagram page. I see it in what you're doing. Like you understand it. So I'm just
thrilled to have had this conversation, Joe. And I can't, I wish you the great success continuing on. I'm assuming you're still training, pushing forward to LA in 28. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
Yep. That's the goal.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a noble goal, even if it's an expensive hobby, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's fantastic. So, best of luck to you, and thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Of course, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet, Joe. Thank you.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Toman, at Mental Mettle Coaching.
I consider it an honor to get to talk to Olympians and have them on the show, and Joe's no exception. Getting hooked up with the American Paragons and working with Shane Fisher and getting a lot of the athletes I had on lately have been Olympics or Olympic hopefuls. I'm struck by how real they are, how well they understand the importance of the mental side of the game. But what's really cool is that they're so human. And Joe is he's already thrown in one Olympics. He is an Olympian, and he's currently ranked 31st in the world in all male discus throwers in the world. And we talk in that episode about his failures and his problems. And as I, call this episode, throwing it into the pole, which is like catastrophic. And then he gets into like, kind of like a metaphorical throwing into the pole, and is that destructive loop he had with alcohol. And it's amazing that he got out of that, and how he knew he needed to get out of it, and he had to use some mental tools to get out of that and get back into the place he is now. And I'm telling you, I'll put his Instagram in the notes, and you should follow that, because there's so much intentionality in his posts, and some realism in that. Do I do this or do I do this? Is this the right way to handle this situation, or should I try this? And some of them are obvious, but some of them have a little bit of merit. And like, this is a real discussion. Like, what should I be doing here? What gives me the best benefit mentally? And just his vulnerability, which if you follow the show at all, you know how I feel about that. His vulnerability in his story. He didn't have to come on and tell me about, some of his struggles and some of those problems, but he did. And that gives a lot of realism. But his vulnerability and then how he's able to get out of that. I think that the vulnerability and the way he posts those questions is vulnerable too, because he's not saying I know everything. He's trying to figure it out as he goes. And that's refreshing. And it's so, I think, good for young athletes and coaches to see, and just to see how you can struggle so much in so many areas. And he was so close to quitting and so close to not making it, and just kept going and kept grinding. And now he's there, and him understanding that intentional, he had to change things and be intentional about the way he did things to get there. And
man, I know that he jokes about it being an expensive hobby, but I can't help but be, again, honored to work with such great athletes and to see Olympians. I grew up just admiring anybody who's an Olympian, and I think a lot of us still do. And just to follow them and see their struggles and to be on this side of it and talking about some of that mental strength that it takes to do that. And that's the real mental mettle here. It's not pretending that you're tough, but admitting when you're hitting the pole and listen, this is not working and I'm throwing it into the hole. I need to determine what I need to change and do the boring and start to grind and work on different things to get better. And, you may not resonate exactly with the alcohol or the self-destruction, but I think this can be a motivational story for most of us in the sense that you can always be looking, okay, well, where in my life am I throwing it into the pole? I keep saying that. Where am I throwing it into the pole? Where am I making these mistakes? And what are the small decisions that I can start to make to get me where I want to be? And I think Joe's story is fantastic for that. So take something from that, figure out where am I struggling, and also you could be going through some really serious issues like this self-destruction, and there are a lot of people out there. It's not fair for me to just say, oh, it may not be that bad. It might be that bad. And if that's the case, then this probably really did resonate with you and you should really pay attention to it. So take a look anytime you listen to these podcasts and kind of analyze it and look at your own self and your own life and say, how can I use some from this? How can I get to where I want to be, regardless of where I am right now and how bad things are, or even though I'm about to quit, and figuring out, well, what do I want to do? How do I want to get there? Start making the decisions and the intentionality that it takes to do that and move forward. And that's what a lot of what mental mettle is so much intentionality. And that's what I love, that vulnerability, then in that intentionality. And those are skills that we have to work on. It's not easy. So another great episode with another Olympic athlete. I just love it. So as always, I'm going to ask you, like, share, subscribe. The social media is taking off. I get a lot of videos out there, a lot of stuff, and I'm getting a lot of follows, a lot of shares, a lot of likes, and I love it because I'm getting notes from people that they see it, they love it, and that's why I do this. I'm doing this to spread these ideas on mental health in athletics, and I can only do that if I have other people sharing these ideas for me. So continue to like, share, subscribe. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you so much. This has been the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Toman, and always remember to forge your mettle. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your mettle.